There are two words that strike fear into the hearts of even the most grizzled retro enthusiasts.
Leaking capacitors.
And this thing, it takes the cake of destruction. It's a Macintosh classic, and 100% of these have already failed. And today we're going to see if this one isn't too far gone and try to bring it back. So stay tuned. And if you enjoy going to great lengths to restore and preserve e-waste, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. The Macintosh Classic came out at the tail end of 1990, and it wasn't very good. I mean, in a vacuum, it's kind of a nice thing. It has a 7.8 MHz 68000 CPU, 1 meg of RAM supporting up to 4, and no hard drive for $999. Or add a 40 megabyte hard drive for an extra $500. Apple never change. The problem was, this was 1990. The Mac SE30 came out a year earlier, which could unofficially take 128 megs of RAM, and had a 15 megahertz 68030 CPU. So why would Apple build a computer that was 2 generations outdated the moment you bought it? Because it was a cheap cash grab. Well, maybe that's a little bit harsh. When the Classic came out, it replaced the 1986 Mac Plus, which was still being sold as Apple's lowest-end Mac. And in that context, this was a big improvement over the Plus. Despite using the same CPU, this thing was faster, it had newer technology like a standard 1.44 megabyte floppy instead of an 800K drive. It even has a version of Mac OS baked into the ROM. Unfortunately, the media didn't see it that way, and this thing was absolutely lambasted. But this questionable history isn't the reason the Mac Classic doesn't get a lot of love today from collectors or enthusiasts. I mean, you saw the title of this video. 100% of these things have already catastrophically failed due to leaking capacitors that spill their electrolyte onto the board, eat through traces, and just destroy chips. And this one is no different, but it's actually not all the way dead, and I think we can save it. Now, this particular Macintosh Classic was generously donated to the channel by a kind viewer at this year's VCF East. Yeah, this thing just powers right up. And a fun trick on these Macintosh Classics, you can hold Control-Option-XO at startup, and they will boot into a baked-in version of the Mac OS, which is in ROM and thus boots extremely quickly. Yeah, check it out. That is basically a 1990 SSD, which leads to surprise number 2. This floppy drive frickin' works. Look at that. Now, you may have noticed something that this computer didn't do when we turned it on, and that's chime. Unfortunately, the sound chip is surrounded by capacitors that always leak, but everything else about it works. The screen is bright and beautiful. I mean, just look how bright it gets. This thing is definitely worth saving, so let's shut it down and we'll tear it apart and see just what state this logic board is in. Right after this quick word about today's incredibly relevant sponsor, Boot.dev. Boot.dev is an incredibly fun gamified platform to learn back-end web development from start to finish. And I've been continuing my quest to learn how to properly use Git on Boot.dev, which, by the way, was the first Git course that immediately made Git make sense to me. I love how Boot.dev not only breaks everything out into fun, easy to follow, and sometimes cheeky examples, but you gain experience points, levels, treasure chests, all sorts of fun stuff that feels like an old school 90s RPG. I've also been going through the Python course, where the exercises follow along building an old school text-based RPG. It's like they know me. Oh, and Boots is perhaps the best help/snarky chatbot that I've ever seen. It's an AI-powered smart bear wizard that's trained on each lesson and can walk you through issues using the Socratic method. There are a ton of wonderfully fun courses on things like Git, JavaScript, Python, Linux, Docker, object-oriented programming, guided projects like building asteroids or building a static site generator. It's free to create an account, demo the courses, and even view all of the content in read-only mode. So go to boot.dev, use my code ActionRetro to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. Becoming a member unlocks interactivity like in-browser coding, boots, progress tracking. That's boot.dev, code Action Retro. So just like all of the compact Macs, you need a super long Torx T15 screwdriver to get these screws under the handle out. And then a trick is to not take one of them all the way out, and we'll use that to push the case apart. We have these two screws here. Also T15 Torx. Then to pop the case open, we'll push down on this halfway inserted screw and lift up on the case. It's worth noting that working with CRTs can be dangerous because they can actually hold on to voltage, high voltage, even after they're powered down. So I am going to discharge it. In here we have a RAM upgrade card. We do have a hard drive, which either is not working or the motherboard is damaged and can't see it. Speaking of motherboard, we have a bad sign already. I'll get you in here close to see this carnage. Uh-oh. Yeah, the power connector on the motherboard appears to have wicked up some of the leaking capacitor juice. Pretty gross. In any event, let's pull out this teeny tiny motherboard and have a look. Oh yeah, that's had some leakage, all right. We can see all around these caps is pretty gross. We can see discoloration on these pins here. Very lucky that this battery did not leak. Yeah, just look at that power connector. That is gross. Fortunately, I just bought a brand new toy, which should help me clean this thing up a little bit. An ultrasonic cleaner. And once we do that, we can pop these old leaky caps off, and I got a brand new set of caps from Console 5, and hopefully at the end of this, have a still working Macintosh Classic. And I'm gonna fill this with distilled water and a little bit of cleaning solution. And this is concentrate, and we're supposed to mix this 1 part to 7. So I will do the incredibly scientific a bit. And then some distilled water. It's probably hard to see on camera, but there is a min and max line in here that we're trying to fill up to. All right, first power on. I'm sure this is going to take quite a while to heat up because this water was kind of cold sitting out in the car. Oh yeah, this feels nice and warm now. So basically we're just gonna dunk the board into the liquid. We're going to set this for 5 minutes. Boy, it makes a lot of noise. Let's pull out our board, which should have had all of the capacitor juice and grime basically vibrated off, and I can already see a huge difference. Yeah, look at that. It is basically spotless now. If you remember, this connector was completely gunked up with that weird blue cap juice corrosion. Totally clean now. This thing looks like it just came out of the factory. I also ultrasonicked the analog board connector, and wow, what a difference. Look at that. All right, the board is completely dry now, so I'm going to use hot tweezers to remove all the capacitors and try not to melt any of the connectors, and replace them with these brand new tantalum caps, which will never leak. And I took a look at the sound chip under the microscope. I didn't see any broken traces, so I'm just gonna reflow and add some solder to make sure all the pins are connected, and we'll see if that fixes sound. Now to pop the new caps on, we'll just add a little bit of solder to one pad. Lay the new cap in, ensuring the line points to the positive side. Solder the other side, and that's in there. Alright, before I put the analog board back in, I want to pull out this hard drive because I do want to replace it with a blue SCSI. Some of these analog board caps don't look that great either. I should probably recap this too. All right, moment of truth. Has this thing survived its surgery? Oh, sound works. It chimed. Oh, it's starting right up. No hard drive installed. Let's see if it'll boot off of this boot floppy I made. It does! Look at that! It's alive! Well, the screen is still bright and crisp and sharp. Yeah, the speaker works. Sound is working. All right, I've got the hard drive dangling out the side, as you do, but reconnected. There are signs of life. It's spinning. It's seeking. It doesn't want to boot from the hard drive. All right, so here is my blue SCSI. Here is a known working SD card with a good disk image on it. If it doesn't see this, unfortunately, that means something else is probably going on. So we will dangle this thing out the side. All right, it has power. That's a good sign. Nope. All right, I'm now going to try a blue SCSI that plugs into the connector on the back of the Mac. All right, it blinked momentarily, but also does not want to boot. Okay, as a bit of a sanity check, I hooked up the original hard drive from the Macintosh Classic to my SE30, and guess what? It boots up just fine, which leads me to believe that something is seriously wrong with the onboard SCSI in this poor Macintosh Classic. Alright, well, I used the microscope to check out all the pins on the SCSI chip here. I saw a few that looked a little questionable, which were also near the original leaking capacitors. So I decided to take the totally reasonable and definitely not overkill step of breaking out my hot air soldering station, desoldering the SCSI chip, carefully scraping all of the pads clean using a bunch of cleaners, and then sanding down the pins on the SCSI chip itself. I resoldered everything and used my multimeter to beep out some of the connections, which all seemed fine except for one particular pin that I couldn't figure out where it was going, which leaves me at kind of a loss. Everything on this machine is totally functional except for the very important SCSI. So I had to search around online, and believe it or not, UT Source is still carrying the SCSI chip that goes into this thing. I've already ordered that SCSI chip. I'm gonna try to solder that one on in place of this one. And if all else fails, there's actually a really interesting project from Kai Robinson called the Mac Classic Reloaded. And if I can't get this thing working, I could transfer these chips, which would make this probably the nicest Macintosh Classic there is. In any event, that'll do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more Macintosh shenanigans like this, please subscribe down below. And thank you very much for watching. Thanks once again to Boot.dev for sponsoring today's video and perhaps being one of the most relevant sponsors I've ever had. Make sure you go to the link down in my description below and use code ActionRetro. And I just want to give a very special thank you to all of my Patreon supporters and channel members. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for supporting me and supporting this channel and all the weird stuff I do. I am so very grateful, and I just could not do this without you.